Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the panel for your testimony. One of the things that I found very interesting recently was the article in American Banker, Why FHFA is Wrong on Principal Forgiveness. And I'm sure you've had a chance to read that article as it's been widely discussed. And essentially the author, Kevin Wack, says that in the third quarter of 2011, I believe it was 18% of bank modifications involved principal reduction. And he raises the question why it is that for-profit institutions are doing nearly a fifth of their loans with principal reduction, finding that that's the most cost-effective way to their profits, but you haven't found any similar results. And I do want you to give brief responses so that we can actually have a bit of a dialogue over several issues.
A number of these institutions have purchased these mortgages at a discount. They bought them at a price at which doing the principal forgiveness was not something where they were taking a loss by doing so.
Well, fair enough, but no matter what you paid for it, the alternative of the strategies that you use with the individual would still be the same range of options that you have if you'd paid a lot more for the loan. So in that context, your logic doesn't hold, and do you want to further try some other argument?
No, I'm comfortable with where I've left it.
Okay. You provided this 6-page report to the House, and I believe Representative Cummings has said really in such a major issue you ought to provide the full analysis, and they've asked you to do so by February 29th. Do you intend to make public the full analysis?
Well, I provided Representative Cummings and others with the full 3 different analyses that we had done on this issue, and he has come back with some follow-up questions and asked for yet additional information, and we are working on that.
So does that meet his request for the February 29th or your?
I will not have additional information tomorrow for him.
One of the notes has been that your analysis did not make one of the most fundamental distinctions, that is between folks who have mortgage insurance and people who do not have mortgage insurance. Obviously, that has a huge bearing on the net present value impact. Why was such a fundamental distinction not analyzed or not laid out, at least in what you presented to Congress?
Because we were able to reach the conclusion about principal forgiveness without going to that point. But if we want to go there, that's quite right. Another issue with principal forgiveness is that I am then putting the taxpayer, jumping them ahead of the mortgage insurance company who's in the first loss position on this mortgage. I would say the same thing holds for any second liens that might exist on this mortgage. So this is reorienting the priority of loss absorption that's part of the structure that's in place today. But we have not had to go to that issue with regard to the analysis that we've done.
Other observers have noted that in your analysis you didn't look at the shared appreciation model, which actually is forgiveness plus funds that come back to the originator, which changes the net present value calculation. So you gain the advantages of people having lower monthly payments, therefore less likely to strategically default, less likely to financially default, and yet there's a back-end funds that return. Do you intend to, you actually mentioned shared appreciation earlier, do you intend to do an analysis of that? And if you haven't already done it, why not?
Shared appreciation mortgages are complex instruments that are not widely articulated in the marketplace. What I was trying to convey to Senator Menendez is that principal forbearance modifications, which we are doing, and we're doing a lot of them, are effectively principal forgiveness with a shared appreciation on the mortgage attached to it. It is economically approximately the same thing. So we are, in fact, doing that now, Senator.
Okay, I didn't see that in the analysis you presented to Congress. Do you intend to provide that analysis?
I believe I will try to articulate this more clearly in our next round of discussions regarding principal forgiveness.
Okay. One of the things that was disturbing to folks across the country is when you said in October you hadn't met any homeowner who has suffered a foreclosure. Have you had a chance to actually talk to homeowners in the real marketplace since October?
You know, Senator, I do know families that have suffered foreclosures, and I believe that my people I know personally things in my personal life and really are not relevant to the realm of this, because I believe my responsibility goes to analyzing the law, analyzing the options that are available to us, and proceeding. I will say something I've done since that time, Senator, that you may find meaningful in this regard. In December, I went up to the city of Baltimore, and I met with folks from the Baltimore City of Housing, the Maryland State Housing Finance Agency, and a local community bank there, as well as some community activists, and had a lengthy discussion about the impact of the housing crisis in Baltimore. We took a tour of several neighborhoods, some of which one might call for which this housing crisis has been very damaging. And we've talked about what happened, we've talked about demographic issues, we talked about alternatives for trying to generate recovery in those neighborhoods. I take this seriously, Senator, that we have communities and families across the country that have been greatly harmed by this, and FHFA is trying very hard to be part of bringing some solutions and stability back to this, but I will do so in a disciplined way, following the mandate that I believe Congress has given us.
I believe what you just said is that you're correcting the record from your October statement, or what, were you misquoted in October?
I was not misquoted. That is what I had told the Congresswoman. I thought she meant it in the form of, is part of my work effort, had I been going out and meeting with foreclosed homeowners.
Well, I applaud what you did in Baltimore, because I think actually seeing communities on the ground gives one an understanding that analysis in ivory towers don't gain. I think you'd be hard pressed to find a street in a working class community like the one I live in that doesn't have one or two families on it that are foreclosed on. I mean, the impact is very real, very evident, the destructions of families' dreams, the destruction of their finances. And I applaud you for going to Baltimore and doing what you can to kind of see the real impact on the ground. Thank you.